What's up, y'all? This is my highest water Little Falls run to date. Big thanks to Tom for pushing me to come out. I wasn't exactly sure if I wanted the smoke, but the way he pitched it to me was, listen, it's basically a big wave train. There's two holes, which are a little grabby, but they'll let you go. And the biggest hazard, which is the pylon supporting chain bridge, is pretty easy to avoid. So I said, sounds good. Grabbed my rewind for a little extra length and speed and headed out to meet him. As you can see, Z channel is basically empty. I'd never really seen it this full of water before, and it's pretty exciting. It was really fun.
Sorry. I was gonna say, yeah, I was looking for the booth and I was like, oh. Somewhere over here.
Yeah, it's like right here.
Okay, not much going on at Z channel. Don't really see a booth.
So it's been a while since I've paddled Little Falls at high water, and I kind of forgot that you can hug River Left and go down and check out Charlie's Little Shop of Horrors and a few other things. And so I'm making my way down the normal line, kind of cutting to River Right, turn around, realize that's not what anybody else did, and so quickly try and get back across the river to rejoin the crew. This is just a good reminder. I'd been paddling a lot kind of solo or with one other person. Reminder to pay attention to the group dynamics, stick with the crew, especially if you haven't paddled something at a particular level before. As always, at high water, be mindful of hazards, but also remember that strainers, trees sticking out of the water, that kind of thing, they also do kind of create little eddies. So when you watch the water, you can find where it's less risky to traverse upstream of a strainer. The other thing is we're getting over to Charlie's Little Shop of Horrors. This is near the put-in from Lock 5. Typically, people don't run it because there's concrete. I've heard stories about rebar in it and things like that, but a few intrepid paddlers decide to run it. You can see that footage here. Notably, Paddle Bike Dive Climb. He's got a YouTube channel. David is a super nice guy. And actually, for this run, he posted a video. He was right behind me, so you can see my run and his run in that video, which I'll link in the description here. So here you can see us just coming downstream from Charlie's and working our way right. There's a gap in the trees where it might be where Beaver Slide usually is. And then we peel out, there's two surf waves, and then it's time to kick off Little Falls Actual. So this is that surf wave. It's really good. There isn't really eddy service. In fact, there aren't a ton of eddies to begin with. You're hard pressed to find a good place to actually pull over once the river gets kicking like this downstream. So be really aware of that. Eddies are few and far between, and it's kind of hairy on the edge of the river. So this is something that I didn't keep in my mind fully and ended up getting a little further downstream than I wanted before we kicked off the run. So I'm heading down, and I know there's a second surf wave, but I see some strainer looking stuff behind it. So I skip the surf wave thinking I'll just eddy out right beneath it. And there aren't a lot of eddies. Tom comes down and we find a place to pause really quick before we peel out and actually run the rapid, which we then do. It's super fun. Generally, the line that I'm thinking of is to stay center left. And then once I see the pillbox, the takeout with the graffiti on it, I'm going to move my way center right to avoid catch and release holes, which will screw up your day, but ultimately flush you. And that's what I try to do. I get lucky with these waves, honestly. Stay upright.
Yeah.
Another hazard worth noting here is really strong eddy lines on either side. You don't really want to flip on those, so you don't want to get too far river left or right. And you gotta be ready for surges like that. You can see how quickly you need to react. Yeah, so honestly, aside from just being a big wave train, there are some powerful boils and eddy lines and surges and things like that. But ultimately, this was just really fun, really big water, tall, bouncy waves. The main thing to be aware of, I think, is just that you're kind of in a slap fight with the river for the crux of that rapid, where the waves are very random and they form very quickly. So in some ways, this clean run you saw from me was a little random. Yeah, I avoided the holes, I kept my line, but it would have been really easy for just like a random wave to flip me over. And then, of course, I would have needed to prove my competence in the roll department. And so it's not without risk. It's not necessarily easy, but it's not this big scary thing that I kind of built it up to be in my head with, you know, pylons that were hard to avoid and would kill you instantly and huge boils that would prevent you from rolling. It's like not that extreme. So what you're seeing here is that Tom flipped over at the end of our run, and he was getting set up for an offside roll where the water kind of forced his paddle back into his face and hit him in the eyebrow, gave him a bit of a cut. But like any good paddler, he had his first aid kit, so we got some butterfly bandages on there, and we were all good to go. I think one thing that's worth pointing out here is that, especially after a lot of rain, you know, the Potomac River is clean, but it's not the cleanest. So just important to rinse out and antibacterialize any kind of cut like that you sustain while paddling little falls like this. Yeah, and the eddy that forms beneath the takeout is going pretty fast. Paddling up through these trees and bushes and whatever is pretty surreal and pretty fun, but again, not without risk. So take care of one another out there. Watch your paddle strokes. Don't get tangled up. And then there is a surprise for us on the way out. We actually get to fully paddle up the concrete path that we usually walk to the tow path to get back to our cars. And that's really insane. The other thing is that there's a booth that you can walk up and run. I wasn't feeling it this day, given still getting my shoulder back online, but I'll run it next time, I promise. In the meantime, you can watch Tom and some of the other guys do it. It looks really fun, but just totally surreal to see all of this at this level. It's amazing how much the river changes, isn't it?
This is insane.
In a world totally underwater,
Can I surf the takeout? Technically, I think that counts. Hell yeah, dude.